Hi, my name is Anita, a PMP certified project manager. Today we'll look at a template for a client status report, how to create it and how to talk about it. A quiz will be given at the end. The client status report is not just sent to the client by email. It's also used during the client status meeting, which usually happens weekly. The purpose of the client status meeting is to briefly report on progress, talk about the client's duties, discuss solutions to current project problems and risks, discuss topics that require client decisions. A well-prepared report can help a lot in achieving these goals. Let's look at this client template for a fictitious project. This is a cover page. It's not strictly necessary, but it makes you look more professional. It also saves time, because you can project it at the beginning of the meeting. This way, after the initial small talk, you can start talking about the status right away, instead of having to deal with technical preparations. The project name should always be descriptive, but short. It's best if it includes the client's name like this and the project scope like this. The date of the status report is a mandatory element. If you are taking the report to a meeting, the date should be the date of the meeting, not the date it was created. Okay, let's see the project data and status slide. As you can see, this is a multi-page status report. Here are the topics on the tabs. This is the order in which you should talk about the project at the client status meeting. The tabs help you know what will be on the next slide during your presentation, and they also make it easy to jump back and forth between slides if necessary during the conversation. This is the project data and status slide. You don't need to talk about the basic data on this page during the status meeting, but they are mandatory elements in the report. These include the report period, which is usually 1 week, the project name, client name, report author name, and project manager name are also included on this slide. You only need to update the period. The project status section is a summary of the current state of the project. This is one of the most important sections. The other slides will detail what we described in the summary. We use green, yellow, and red color codes for the project health. It is a good idea to use color codes because they provide information about the project at a glance. Green. Green means that everything is on track. There is no need to detail this in the status text. Yellow. Yellow means that some risk or problem exists and requires attention. We are aware of the issue and are either working on it or have a plan to address it. The status text should describe the reason for the yellow status and the status of the issue if applicable. Red. Red means that there is a major problem with the project and may require intervention from management. The status text should briefly describe the problem, its impact, and what is needed to address it, or the status of the solution if it is already being addressed. The text section should provide a brief summary of the project, including an explanation of the color code. It is a good idea to create this text as the last step in preparing the status report. During the status meeting, use the text to discuss the current status of the project. Let's see the milestone slide. This is the slide about milestones. Milestones represent the major stages of the project. It is best to keep the number of milestones low. Typically 4 or 5 is sufficient. The milestone slide provides a quick overview of where the project is at. It is an inventory, so you can talk about this slide briefly. For each milestone, include the following in the table. Milestone names, like these, status, planned deadline. If everything is on track, you only need to update the statuses. What are the possible statuses? Done. This milestone has been completed and does not need to be discussed. On track. This status is given to milestones that are currently in progress and are on track to meet the deadline. There is no need to say much more about this. Maybe delays. This is a risk of a deadline delay. This status is given to milestones that are currently in progress and there is a risk or problem with meeting the deadline. Only talk about this briefly here, referring to the fact that you will discuss it in more detail later. Overdue. This refers to an existing deadline delay. With this status, you need to explain the reason for the delay. This may be a sentence that is repeated from week to week, but always say it. The cause of the delay can be on the client side or on ours. In both cases, talk about the treatment method and its status. It is also possible that the delay is caused by circumstances beyond the control of either the client or us. In such cases, both sides accept it, but it is important to state that this is the current situation. In case of a delay, it is important to discuss with the client how the schedule will be modified. If there is a new agreed deadline, it should also be changed on this slide. Okay, let's see the tasks slide. This is the tasks slide. It is important to include client tasks in the list as well. This slide serves an important purpose in the status meeting. Completed task. The client is curious, and we also want to communicate what tasks we have completed since the last status meeting. This way the client can see that we are working on their project. Put these tasks in the completed tasks column. Overdue task. It is also important to list the tasks that are in progress but are delayed. For these, we need to talk about the reason for the delay and the problem that still exists and how it is being handled. If a task is delayed on the client side, we should ask what steps have been taken on our part to resolve it. Next task. Finally, we coordinate the tasks for the next week with the client. We can use the schedule for the listening. If we will be responsible for these tasks, it is enough to talk about them briefly. If the client will be responsible for the tasks, whether they need to provide prerequisites for our task or it will be an independent task, we should discuss it in detail at the meeting. Who will do it, by when, and so on. It is important that the client understands the task exactly and also plans its prerequisites. Let's see the problem and solution slide. This is the problem and solution plan slide. This slide is about the problems encountered in the project. It helps to present and coordinate the most important problems and their solutions with the client. The problems are already affecting the project today. The client needs to be aware of the problem and should be told what it is affecting. For example, a problem can affect the project schedule and the client should be informed of this as soon as possible. We need to keep a problem list during the project. Put the 5 currently most important problems here like here. Briefly describe the solution plan, the name of the person responsible for the solution, and the status. Usually, at first we only know the problem, there is no solution plan and no responsible person. If we do not have all the information, we can indicate this with the status. In addition, of course, we need to take the necessary steps to obtain the information. If we already have a proposal for the solution plan, we can discuss it with the client at the status meeting or suggest a separate meeting on this topic. Often we only get this far with the status. We request a meeting and identify the participants. Always assign a responsible person to the solution plan. It is not the best solution to put the client's name or the project manager's name next to everything. There may also be problems that neither the client nor we have any influence on. However, these also need to be addressed. Even if we accept the problem, the schedule, scope, or other parameters need to be modified jointly. This will then be the solution plan. Now let's see the statuses. New. The new status means that the problem has been recorded as new since the previous meeting. Open. The open status means that the problem was already on the list at the previous meeting, but we have not yet dealt with it. We need to make progress on this. More info needed. For a task with the more info needed status, there is usually no solution plan yet, and further planning and coordination is required to proceed. At the status meeting, we will indicate or agree on the next step. In progress. When a problem is given the in progress status, it means that the problem is already being addressed. Here we can report on the progress, if any, during the given period. Solved. A solved problem is one of which we have closed the solution plan in the given period. These and the outcome must be reported at the status meeting. This problem will not be included in the next report. Okay, let's see the risk and treatment plan slide. This is the risks and treatment plan slide. This slide focuses on the risks that may affect the project. It helps to present and coordinate the most important risks and their mitigation strategies with the client. A risk is a potential problem that have not yet occurred. Risk management aims to prevent these problems from occurrence, reduce the probability of their occurrence, or minimize their impact if they do occur. The client needs to be aware of the risks and their potential consequences. This includes the impact on the project schedule, quality, and other aspects. If the risk originates from the client side, we need to communicate and collaborate with them to find solution and prevent the risk from materializing. If the client cannot take adequate measures, we should inform them promptly about the potential consequences, such as project delays. Timely communication of risk is crucial to the success of the project. Even if the project does not go as planned, clear communication will keep the client on our side. If the risk is caused by our side, we need to explain what we are doing to mitigate it. From the very beginning of the project, we should create a project risk list. This list should be continuously updated and the risks should be evaluated based on their probability of occurrence and impact. These two factors determine the risk value of each risk, which allows us to prioritize them. On this slide, we should include the 5 risks with the currently highest risk values. Similar to the problem, we should briefly describe the mitigation plan, the name of the person responsible for the mitigation, and the status for each risk. If the mitigation plan is not yet developed or the responsible person is not yet assigned, we need to take the necessary steps to obtain this information. The mitigation plan should be discussed with the client at the status meeting, or we can suggest a separate meeting for this topic. Okay, let's see the risk statuses. New or not rated. If a risk is new or the mitigation plan is still under development, it receives the new not rated status. At the status meeting, we need to agree on the next steps. Treatment plan is ready. The treatment plan is ready status is used when a mitigation plan has been developed. Once the plan is ready, we need to assign a responsible person and define a schedule. Treatment in progress. If the mitigation of the risk has started, it receives the treatment in progress status. At the status meeting, we need to provide or receive information about the progress. Closed. If the mitigation plan has been implemented or the risk has disappeared, we assign the closed status. This risk will be not included in the next report. Acute problem. If a risk has materialized, we mark it with the acute problem status. In this case, we will manage it further as a problem, and it will be removed from the risk table in the next report. So let's see the meetings and events slide. This is the meetings and events slide. This slide should include the meetings and events planned for the next period. Only include meetings where the client is invited. This can include both regular meetings such as status meetings and ad hoc meetings such as previously agreed technical discussions. Include the following information in the table: meeting name and date.